AITA for evicting my mother-in-law after my wife said my family isn't her problem? I am 45 years old and married to Megan, who is 39. We have shared our lives together for 7 years already. We both have full-time jobs. We have no children, and we live in a house that I bought before our wedding in a quiet suburban neighborhood outside Denver, Colorado. From day one, I considered it our home for both of us. Megan has always been an extremely organized person. She likes everything to be in its place, for her days to follow a precise schedule, and for her space to remain under control. I am different, more flexible, and more adaptable. I never would have imagined that this difference in temperament could one day become a serious rift between us until the event that triggered everything occurred. A few months ago, on an ordinary afternoon, I received a call from my younger brother. We do not speak every day, but we have always been close. As soon as I answered, I knew something was wrong. He was crying, not silently and not trying to hold it in, but with that combination of despair and shame that knots your stomach and makes your blood run cold. He told me that he had lost his home. It was neither a metaphor nor an emotion-driven exaggeration. He had truly lost it. The house he had bought 4 years earlier through years of hard work had just been taken from him. For years, he had worked overtime, saved every single penny, and given up simple pleasures just to finally be able to say, "This is my home." It was not a luxurious place, but it was his sanctuary. At least, that is what he thought. The day before, he explained, a representative had shown up accompanied by lawyers and legal documents. They informed him that the house did not belong to him. The real owner had just discovered that his relative had sold the property fraudulently using fake papers. My brother had been the victim of a real estate scam. The person who sold him the house was not the rightful owner. When the real owner discovered the deception, he initiated legal proceedings and won in court. Legally, he had every right to reclaim his property. It did not matter that my brother had lived there for years, made improvements, and paid taxes and utilities. In the eyes of the law, he was ordered to vacate the premises. He was given a short deadline to leave. When he finished his story, I could not find the words. I just listened to his sobs. He told me he no longer knew what to do, that he felt foolish for trusting the wrong person, and that he had lost everything. He did not explicitly ask for my help, but it was obvious he was overwhelmed. I hung up with a lump in my throat. I sat in the kitchen for a long time, thinking. I thought about him and what it meant to find yourself without a home overnight. I also wondered what I would do in his place. For me, the answer was immediate and clear. My brother could not end up without a place to stay. When Megan came home from work that evening, after her commute, I told her everything right away. I explained the fraud, the scam, the court ruling, and the requirement to vacate. I told her my brother was devastated, that he had nowhere to go for the moment, and that I sincerely thought he should come stay with us temporarily, just until he got back on his feet. I expected to see concern, maybe some hesitation or practical questions, but not what I got. From the start, Megan reacted not out of sadness, but out of annoyance. She simply replied, "No." I thought she had not heard me right. "What do you mean?" "No, he is my brother. He just lost his home." She sighed, put her bag down with irritation, and declared that she hated having other people in the house. "You know how I am. I do not like anyone disrupting our routine." I tried to stay calm. I explained to her that this was not a social visit, but an emergency situation, that it would be temporary, that we could set clear boundaries, and that he would not stay indefinitely. Nothing worked. She insisted, "I do not want to live with anyone else. This house is ours too. I will not tolerate someone else here." The words "someone else" hurt me more than I would have thought. I reminded her that he was my brother, that he had always been respectful, and that he was family. I also told her that if the roles were reversed, I would not hesitate for a second to help a member of her family. That is when she looked at me with a cold expression I had never seen before and uttered those words. "Your family's problems are not my concern." I remained speechless. I did not know what to say. I was torn between disbelief, anger, and profound sadness. Not because she refused to help, but because she did not even seem willing to consider the possibility. To her, it was not a difficult family situation, it was an inconvenience. The conversation ended badly. We went to sleep in separate rooms without coming to an agreement. I spent hours staring at the ceiling, thinking about my brother and my marriage. I never would have believed that a single sentence could so drastically change the way I saw the person I shared my life with. The following 2 days were tense. There were no loud arguments or yelling, but a heavy atmosphere filled the house. Megan went about her routine as if nothing had happened. I, however, could not let it go. My brother called me to update me on the eviction progress, the difficulties of finding a new place to live in such a short time, and the high rental prices in the area. He tried to sound strong, but his voice betrayed his exhaustion. One day, after hanging up, I sat motionless, deep in thought. It was then that I remembered a detail I had almost forgotten. I owned another property. It was not a secret. I had bought it years earlier as an investment. It was a detached 2-story house located in another part of the city, far from the one where Megan and I lived. For a while, it had not brought me any income because I had allowed Megan's mother to stay there. She had lost her own home after a bank foreclosure. She had stopped making mortgage payments for several months, and the bank eventually took the property back. Without going into details, the result was simple. She had found herself without a home. At the time, Megan had asked me for help. She explained that her mother was going through a difficult time and had nowhere to go. I had not hesitated for a second. I offered to let her stay in that property rent-free. No formal lease, no complicated paperwork. I simply provided the keys, telling her she could stay as long as she needed. This property had an important feature. The 2 floors were completely independent. The upper floor had its own exterior entrance. No shared kitchen or bathroom. 2 people could live there without ever crossing paths. Remembering this, I thought I had found the ideal solution. That very evening, I spoke to Megan again. I calmly explained to her that I was no longer suggesting we take my brother into our main home. He could move into the other property, the one where her mother was already living. I described the layout, the separate entrance, and the lack of shared space. Her mother would continue to live as before. My brother would simply occupy the upper floor. I genuinely thought I was offering a reasonable compromise. Her reaction was even stronger. She looked at me as if I had suggested something outrageous. "No," she repeated, "my mother does not have to live with anyone else." I tried to explain that it was not a traditional shared living arrangement, that it was temporary, and that it was a real emergency. She crossed her arms and cut me off. "My mother went through the same thing as your brother. She lost her home. And you know what she did? She stood strong. She did not wait for someone to rescue her." My jaw tightened. "He is not looking for rescue. He was the victim of a scam. It is not the same." She shook her head. "It is exactly the same. They both faced setbacks, and now they want others to fix it." I did not know how to respond immediately. Then she spoke words I will never forget. "You have to be naive to believe someone else will always come to save you. Your brother is probably trying to take advantage of the situation, and you should not let that happen." These words hit me even harder than the previous ones. She was not just refusing. She was questioning my brother's character and looking down on me for wanting to help him. I got up and went to the living room to collect my thoughts. That night, I slept very little. While she rested, I replayed memories in my mind. I remembered a serious accident I had years ago. It was a dark period. Weeks of limited mobility, dealing with pain and uncertainty. My parents were no longer around. Many friends had drifted away. The only one who stayed was my brother. He spent entire nights by my side, sitting in an uncomfortable chair, just to make sure I did not need anything. He helped me with daily tasks. He never made me feel like a burden. He lent me money when I had nothing left. He helped me start over when everything seemed lost. Not out of obligation, but out of brotherly support. Thinking about this made Megan's attitude feel even colder. The next day, I attempted one last discussion. I told her that it was not just about my brother, but about values and how one responds when family needs support. She remained firm. "I do not want him living there. I do not want any added complications. I do not want responsibilities that are not mine." At that moment, I understood that she would not change. I felt torn between my role as a husband and as a brother. But another question began to take hold. What kind of partnership had I entered into? That evening, after another call from my brother, I made a decision. Not in anger, not impulsively. It was a well-thought-out decision. I was going to act. After that last discussion with Megan, I went to my home office. I was not agitated. I was determined. I knew that if I did nothing, my brother would end up moving between temporary stays, while someone lived rent-free in a property that legally belonged to me. I took my phone and contacted Michael, my lawyer. We had worked together on several real estate matters before. He knew my situation well. When he answered, I got straight to the point. Michael, I have a situation to resolve. There is someone staying in one of my properties, and I need the property vacated. My brother is going to move in there temporarily. I want to start the eviction process. A brief silence followed. Are you talking about the 2-story house? He asked. Isn't your mother-in-law the one staying there? I took a slow breath before answering. Yes, it is her. But that changes nothing. The property is mine. I need it cleared quickly. He paused for a few seconds. Legally, it is possible, he finally said. But be aware that this is going to cause a serious family conflict. I know, I replied. Do what is necessary. Very well, I am on it. I hung up. I felt neither relief nor triumph. Only a strange sense of clarity that comes when a difficult decision has been made. A few minutes later, I grabbed my phone again. This time, I called Megan's mother. Not out of legal requirement, but because I wanted to speak to her directly. She answered almost immediately. Hello, I would like to talk to you about something important. She did not let me finish. I know why you are calling, she said in a dry tone. Megan told me everything, and my answer is no. I do not want your brother there. It does not matter who he is. I felt my teeth clench, but I kept my voice steady. I understand your position. I simply wanted to hear it from you. I have nothing else to add, she concluded. That property is my home now. I will not share it. I paused briefly. Very well. That is all I wanted to know. Thank you for your honesty. I hung up. No raised voices, just a clear and direct exchange. And it was precisely this lack of flexibility that confirmed I was doing the right thing. The next few hours passed in heavy silence. I knew Megan would eventually find out. It happened sooner than expected. Late in the afternoon, the front door opened abruptly. Megan walked in, visibly upset. She set her bag down and looked at me with anger. What did you do? She demanded. My mother called me very distressed. Lawyers delivered eviction papers. Are you behind this? I looked at her calmly. Yes, I initiated the proceedings. Her expression shifted from shock to fury. You have lost your mind. That is my mother. It is my property. I replied without raising my voice. My brother needs a place to stay. She started pacing. Do you realize what this means? You are forcing her to leave. No. I offered solutions. They were refused. I continued calmly. My brother has nothing left. I don't think it's fair for him to pay for temporary housing while your mother lives comfortably in a property that belongs to me without contributing. It is not the same, she retorted. My mother is different. No, I said. They both lost their homes. The only difference is that I am willing to help my family. But she refuses to make any adjustments. She looked at me with disapproval. How can you do this to an older woman? I stared back. And how can you ask me to turn my back on my brother? That was enough to escalate the situation. Harsh words were exchanged. She accused me of always prioritizing my family over hers. She claimed I was damaging our marriage over this. I did not respond to every accusation. I let her express her anger. When she finally paused, I took a deep breath. I am not damaging anything, I said calmly. I am acting according to what I believe is right. She shook her head, with tears in her eyes, but her resolve firm. I hope you regret this. I hope when you need help one day, no one offers it. I looked at her for a long time, and for the first time, I clearly understood what was at stake. I am sorry, I replied, but your family's problems are not my concern. After those words, she stood frozen. Her expression changed. The anger gave way to quick thinking. All right, she suddenly said in a softer tone. Let us go back to the original idea. Your brother can take the upper floor. My mother will stay on the lower level. Her tone was not genuine compromise. It sounded rushed. I observed her carefully. She was not offering this out of conviction, but because she saw the situation slipping away. I am sorry, Megan, I replied. My brother prefers his own space and does not want to share the property. She stared at me in disbelief. What? Now he is the one who does not like sharing. Exactly. I do not want him to have to adjust to others. She took a step forward. Stop repeating my words. Stop turning this around. I remained calm. I am simply applying the same logic. Her eyes widened. You are being unreasonable. Without waiting any longer, she turned and left the house in tears. The door closed firmly behind her. The silence that followed was heavy but strangely calming. For the first time in days, I no longer felt conflicted. About 2 hours later, my phone rang. Michael here. The eviction process went forward without major complications, he announced professionally. For now, there are just 2 upset women at the property. They will likely leave. I felt neither joy nor guilt. Perfect. Thank you for handling it efficiently, Michael. Always here to help. I hung up. Megan did not come home that night. The next morning, I got up early. I packed a small bag with essentials and drove to the other property. While driving, I called my brother. It is settled. You can move in today. A silence, then a sigh of relief. Thank you. I knew I could count on you. When he arrived, he looked around the place as if he could hardly believe it. He walked through each room slowly. It was not fancy, but it was clean, functional, and secure. I do not know how to thank you, he said quietly. You do not have to. You are safe here now, and that is what matters. He insisted on paying rent once he could. He did not want to feel like a burden. I told him to focus first on stabilizing, resolving the legal matters from the scam, and rebuilding. It is not charity, I explained. It is family. His eyes welled up, but he nodded. As I was leaving, I knew nothing would ever be the same again. Yet, I felt no regrets. Several weeks have passed since these events. Many people have asked me how it all ended. The short version is simple. I am proceeding with a divorce and I am doing better. After that day, Megan never returned to live in our house. She stayed with a friend and then with other family members. At first, she tried to contact me multiple times, not to apologize, but to demand that I stop the eviction of her mother. When she realized I would not reverse my decision, her tone shifted. Reproaches turned to stronger accusations, and then to emotional pressure. She claimed that I had damaged our marriage, that I was being unreasonable, and that no reasonable person would have acted this way. At no point did she fully acknowledge my brother's situation. Everything centered around her and her mother. That is when I understood that the issue was not just this one event. It went deeper. I filed for divorce shortly after. It was not an impulsive step. It was a logical outcome. I realized I was married to someone who viewed empathy mainly through the lens of personal benefit. Someone for whom helping family in need was seen as a burden rather than a value. The proceedings are ongoing. They are not particularly complex. We have no children, and our assets are clearly separated as the house was my premarital property. She has tried to present herself as the victim to others, but that no longer affects me. My brother, on the other hand, is doing better. He still lives in the property. He is gradually resolving the legal aspects of the scam and has found a new job. He still insists on contributing rent. We agreed he would start once he is fully stable. Not because I need it, but because it matters to him for his dignity. As for me, I feel at peace. I thought the change would be difficult. The opposite happened. The house has become a calm place again. I no longer feel like I am walking on eggshells. I no longer have to justify decisions I believe are fair. This experience taught me one essential thing. A relationship is not measured only by the good times, but by how the other person responds when family faces hardship. I do not regret helping my brother. I also do not regret setting clear boundaries, even if it cost me my marriage. If there is one lesson, it is that doing what is right can be uncomfortable, but sometimes it is necessary for everyone to face the outcomes of their circumstances. Comment: I wanted to share something with you after reflecting on this story. For me, the biggest lesson is learning to set healthy boundaries without feeling guilty about it. Protecting your own peace is actually an important form of self-respect. While we should always try to support our loved ones, it should never come at the complete cost of our own well-being. True kindness flows best when it comes from a place of strength rather than pressure. Taking responsibility for family while staying true to your values takes real courage. Healing really begins once we stop ignoring what doesn't feel right inside. I hope this encourages you to gently reflect on the relationships in your own life. You deserve calm, respect, and genuine support from those around you. I would love to know what this story brought up for you, so please share your thoughts in the comments below. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.